Thank you, Ambrose. My hosts, the Insurers Association, brokers, agents, and the rest of us, dear friends. There was a question which I needed answered, and I wrote the answer here. What is the difference between brokers and agents? And even when you are referred to as an orator, it doesn't mean you know everything. Most of the time, actually, you know very little. But the little you know, you can express very ably. So I want to thank Mr. Kimathi for giving me a seminar. He told me that brokers are corporates and agents are individuals. So if you don't mind my impudence, may I request the agents, let's raise our hands. Yes, we are the majority. I'm also an agent. I don't sell insurance, I sell myself. Seriously, I would like to most sincerely thank the Uganda Insurers Association for inviting me to be the chief guest. I'm flattered that you think that I'm so busy that I needed to think seriously as to whether I should come here or not. You know that I recently was in Champagne, where the diet is not particularly good, and I had rumors that there would be dinner here. And tomorrow is a public holiday. So who would want to miss a dinner on the eve of a public holiday after bad food in Chankwanzi? It's a privilege for me to speak to the members of the Uganda Insurers Association. The second reason why I'm here is that you chose for your messenger my father-in-law to deliver my letter. Now, how many of you gentlemen will say no to an invitation delivered by your father-in-law? So you definitely know how to get people. So Mzee Joseph Chiwanuka, who is my father-in-law, is the one who delivered the letter. Was still not directly but through my wife. Now you married men know the situation. Domestic peace is based on always saying yes to your wife. It's a good rule to obey if you want peace. So for those two reasons, I had to say yes. I also have some connection with the insurance industry. Soon after being enrolled as an advocate, I applied to be a state attorney at the Ministry of Justice. And I failed the interview. Or rather, I was rejected. I believe I did very well in the interview. As a matter of fact, I must have given excellent answers because my uncle, Justice Ralph Chan, was on the interview panel. And later he told me that you actually passed, that you could not be employed. Sounds like the kind of thing doctors tell you after the patient has died, and they say the surgery was successful, but the patient died. That's what happened to me. So, I didn't get the job. Some of the reasons I was told later was that my record was not good. While a student at the university, I'd been notorious for leading strikes. I was always on the wrong side of government. In one of the strikes, 2 students were killed and several others were injured. Definitely not the kind of person you need to be in the public service. Not likely to be very obedient. So I didn't get the job. But I wasn't bitter. That God can play jokes. Because now, I leave the ministry which would not have me in the lowest professional position, which is that of state attorney. So for the rest of you who are struggling, you young people, there is hope. And I shared that story when I was appointed minister and I was chairing my first top management meeting. So I told them, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not even supposed to be in this building. But guess what? I'm now here. And I'm the boss. But in 1994, they would not have me. I was disqualified. So having missed that opportunity, I then went knocking on doors. So I went to a law firm called Kabugo and Company. And that is my connection with insurance. Because Kabugo and Company was situated on Egen House. Egen, I understand, is East African General Insurance. Somewhere along the corner of Kampala Road and Entebbe Road. So for many years, I had a small office at Egen House. Life was not easy. Most of the time I would walk home. I had said farewell to my parents, so a friend of mine whose sister had built a house and left him to take care of it, gave me a room in Nampulagi. And my salary was 50,000 shillings. Sounds like very little. That was not very little, actually. It was something. Now, those of you who know the laws of demand and supply, when the supply is little, then you deal with the demand. So I decided that I would not have transport costs. After all, I was healthy, young, and I could walk. So I would walk all the way from Nampulagi via Makenere Kivulo up to Egen House, wearing tracksuits and sneakers, and my suit would always be in the office. It was very helpful because it allowed me to mix with the people. So when walking home, I would be moving with the wheelbarrow pushers, the hawkers, and I would listen to their conversations about the daily struggles. I think it helped me a lot to be a politician who is on the ground. Many politicians are out of touch with what goes on in the real world. And that's why sometimes they propose measures, and those of you who live in the real world ask, what's wrong with these people? Don't they know what is going on? So, as I speak to you, about legal frameworks, public trust and protection systems, in line with your theme of becoming a champion of protection, performance and purpose in the new insurance era. I thought I should tell you that I also have a story. And those of you who are here, you only do one thing. You sell insurance. That's what you do. There is a saying that you can take a horse to the water, but you cannot make the horse drink. But those who say that are the excellent salesmen and saleswomen. They will tell you, you can take a horse to the water and the horse will drink every time. So how do you do that? By giving the horse salt. When a horse has eaten salt and it is thirsty, it will run faster than you to drink. So if you are going to be champions of protection, you must have that motivation. And that motivation is the salt. And you need that whether you're a politician, whether you're a doctor, whether you're a farmer, whether you are an insurance broker, whether you're a banker. It doesn't matter. You need that salt. So today, the question is, what salt are you giving to your clients? What is the salt you are giving us? When you come to my office and you say, I'm from Jubilee Insurance, I don't want to read your brochure. I want you to tell me something which will excite me. It even has nothing to do with how well dressed you are. It's about the story you tell us. Those of you who are religious, whether you're Christians or Muslims, these holy books are full of these stories. And it is these stories which keep motivating you, and we never get tired of listening to them. Every year, the story of Easter is told, and we still don't fill up the church. It doesn't mean we have not heard it before. We know that Jesus fell 3 times, and a man called Simon was forced to carry the cross a little bit. Then you have Christmas. We know Angel Gabriel came and declared, and Joseph was in shock. Then Lent comes, of course. Soon thereafter, you have Palm Sunday. We have heard the story. Jesus borrows a donkey. You know, a man who has been walking all through his life suddenly needed a good ride. And the donkey was perhaps the V8 of those days. So he needed to borrow a Land Cruiser to arrive in Jerusalem in style. We have heard that story before. We all get excited, for those of us who are Muslims, about the hadith, the sayings of the Prophet, his many stories. Even the Hindus, you read the Gita, it is full of stories, the battles of Prince Arjuna. The Buddhists, the stories of Sinhata. So, how can you convince me if you are not convinced yourself about what you are saying? So today, being a lawyer and not an insurance, I studied insurance law, and my specialty is legal aspects of international trade and investment. And that's what I specialize in. We are the ones who deal with these fat contracts, the ones of 500 pages, and we can plant a landmine in the contract to blow you up 5 years down the road. And we can also detect landmines that have been planted by other lawyers. We plant landmines, we also detect landmines. And that is my encounter with insurance. And when I was licking my political wounds after running unsuccessfully for president, I was mainly doing the job of writing aircraft leases for some farmers in Kenya, those who are based in Samburu and Laikipia. Because those farms are so big, you need an aeroplane to move from one place to another. So I had some friends who gave me some work. Now the Gen Zs would say I was doing a gig. But primarily, I'm a lawyer. So you work within the legal framework. And insuring somebody imposes upon you a contractual obligation. Of course, when you are selling insurance, eventually it ends up with you putting some document for me, and I must sign on the dotted line. It's almost like these agreements of telephone applications. You download an app, then it says agree. If you don't agree, you don't download. So you have no choice. It is only the big insurance contracts that are negotiated. For instance, if I want to insure Namamba Industrial Park, then ICEA will negotiate with me because the money is big. But I don't think you are going to spend 30 minutes negotiating with me for a third-party insurance contract. So that brings in my topic of the legal frameworks. The world in which I live is based on something akin to a book. And the book of life has two covers, and these two covers are legal documents. The front cover is your birth certificate. It is a legal document. The back cover is your death certificate. It is also another legal document. So you can't escape the law. The law is there whether you like it or not. Now, why do we trust insurance? After all, what is insurance? Insurance is a promise to take you back to where you were before a bad eventuality, an accident, a fire, and in the case of death, it is about those who depend on you. Now, being a government official and the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, I have to state that the people trust insurance because you are licensed. In other words, the government recognizes you as somebody who can be trusted. You are licensed. So behind you, you are also insured. To put it plainly, the government insures you by promising everybody that this company is a company that can be trusted. Now that leads us to what we call a protection system. Somehow, we are not so much into insurance as Ugandans. If you ask any 100 Ugandans, do you have life insurance? You later tell us what percentage of Ugandans actually are insured. So, when I got this invitation, I focus on the word champions. So, if you are to become a champion, that means you must have a mission. Remember, I said you must create that thirst which will make people decide that they need to be insured. And you can only do that by telling these basic stories about the dangers of life. Perhaps you have, those of you who have, especially the social scientists, you know about Friedrich Nietzsche and his famous story about the sheep, the wolf, and the sheepdog. It is assumed that the majority of people in the world are very innocent. They really like to go about their business. They don't want to trouble anyone. They are law-abiding. When you tell them keep left, they'll keep left. You tell them stay home during lockdown, they'll stay home. That philosopher called them the sheep. And then you have the wolves, who is after the sheep. The robbers, the murderers, the cheats. We call them the bad people. You also insure against theft, for instance. So we call those the wolves, who are after the sheep. So then you need a balance. Then you have the sheepdog, the one that guards the sheep. So you, in the insurance industries, you are the sheep. No wonder most of you in the insurance industry, you use the symbol of the shield. As a young man, I loved one of the adverts of an insurance company. I forget which one it was. Maybe it was National Insurance. You know how the footballers stand during a free kick? You know where they place their hands. All the soccer fans know how the footballers stand and how they guard their valuables. I loved that advert. It simply said, protect your valuables. And then it lined up all these footballers, standing during a moment of danger, namely a free kick. Imagine a Ronaldo is going to take a free kick. You will try your best to get the ball, but just in case the ball goes the wrong way, there are some areas you must protect. So, in championing insurance, to be a champion of protection, you must awaken me to a level of awareness of what is valuable in my life. If you are selling life insurance, you will have to tell me that Nobert Mao, this is your age. You are in a career line which is full of hazards. You know, my kind of work, politics, you can end up in jail, you can end up in exile, you can end up killed. So, championing protection means you shed light. It's not that you are going to see for me. It's your duty to shine a light on what is valuable, which needs protection. I am sure, as you look at the list of those who will win the awards tonight, you are going to see that there is a thread that runs through their careers. Most probably, they are the people who are organized. Secondly, they are people who don't fear failing. Selling means you don't fear a no. Most people cannot handle a no. For those of you who attended secondary school around the time when some of us attended, there was something called a social. I'm told these days it is called a prom. You know the young men who get glued to their chairs and they will never go to ask a lady for a dance. Why? They fear. They know. So, among those who will get these awards, if you allow them to speak, they'll tell you that they have become champions because they are not afraid to approach the next prospect. So, he or she wakes up and speaks to 100 prospects on phone, and 90 say no. And then 10 say yes. But then there are those who are not going to get their award tonight. They will not ask until they feel they are sure they'll get a yes. But that's not the real world in which we live. So tonight, for those who are not going to be given the awards, look out for the common denominator among those who are going to get the awards. What are the qualities that distinguishes them from the rest of the people who don't win the awards? It is like in politics. We're all full of scars of losing. The other day I was addressing some people and I was consoling those who lost the election. I said, I understand, because we have lost the presidential election, which is a big loss. It's like falling from the top branch of a tree. You can imagine the injury you will get. Now, those who lose NC3 elections, NC5 election, parliamentary election, that is nothing compared to losing a presidential election. So, I do believe that this message of mine goes to the agents. Because to use a word which now has many connotations, you are the foot soldiers of insurance. So I would like to congratulate the Uganda Insurers Association for recognizing you who go where the rubber meets the road. You are not sitting in the corner office looking at the hills of Kampala and giving orders and negotiating bank loans and talking to reinsurers and so on. You are the ones who are sticking your neck out, taking that no. Including being told, I'm busy, sorry, I can't see you, and you have to go to the next prospect. Tonight is therefore dedicated to you because you are the ones who must simplify this complex industry to the ordinary people. I'm told that there are about 4,000 agents. And the letter which was written to me referred to you as the backbone. Of course, the backbone is part of the skeleton. The skeleton is not seen unless you are using X-ray. You don't see the skeleton. So tonight, the leadership of the Uganda Insurers Association is telling you that they see you the agents. I now want to make some promises. As a leader in this country, as a politician, as a father, as a husband, as a human being, that from now onwards, because this is the first time that I'm speaking to this kind of audience, this is an audience which is not an audience to speak politics to. I want to pledge that I will join you in promoting insurance as a very important part of the development of any country because it creates confidence in the economy. Why do soldiers carry guns? That's their insurance. I once had a conversation with the late Eli Dumine. He was always having his gun, but it was always in a bag. So I asked him, General, when did you last fire this gun? He said, I don't remember. Because he also has a truckload of soldiers to guard him. But the law requires that he should also have one as a general. So then he gave me his answer. He said, most of the time I don't need it. But I don't want not to have it when I need it. Theoretically, we can all do without insurance. Theoretically. But when that thing happens, you don't want not to be insured. You want to be insured. Now, I'll tell you a personal story. I even wrote down the number plate of the lorry, a Tata lorry. UAB 189B. Tata Lorry model 1210. When I was a young member of parliament, we were offered a loan to buy cars. Some people bought SUVs. So I imagined that I'm now going to be a transport mogul. So I used my loan money to buy a brand new Tata Lorry. So I got a driver, I got somebody to assist the driver, I even got a manager. And I now waited at home to count money. Then you get a call, tire burst. You get another call, robbers have robbed the lorry, taken all the luggage, and now you must compensate. As you know, the goods in transit around Uganda are not insured. The CIFs are normally from China, Dubai, and so on. Here, Kampala to Gulu, there's no CIF. The next thing, big accident. But the lorry was comprehensively insured. So it saved me one thing, panic. So next time you are writing your magazine, I'm happy to tell that story as a practical example of what insurance can do. Eventually, of course, I sold the lorry because I'm not generally a good businessman. I had to come to the realization and accept that that's not one of my strong points. So I humbled myself, I sold the lorry, and decided to focus on the things I know, rather than pretending that I'm a great businessman, which I am not. Thank God, my wife knows a lot of business. So that is my insurance in the business arena. I want to pledge that I'll use every platform that I have to speak about the role of insurance in our business landscape. So today, I wish to announce that the Uganda Insurers Association is welcome to come to the Ministry of Justice for a conversation on whatever legal reforms you may think are necessary. For the first time, those who are not normally in the political arena stormed Parliament when this National Sovereignty Bill, Protection of Sovereignty Bill, hit the floor of the House. People realized that you can avoid politics, but politics will not avoid you. That is my other message to those of you who don't want to get into policy conversation. Policy conversation doesn't make you a politician. You don't even need to belong to a political party. For instance, I don't think the governor of the Bank of Uganda belongs to any political party. He doesn't. But he went there to warn us about the implications of some of the policies we are putting in place. So, I recommend that the Uganda Insurers Association should have a legislative liaison committee and foremost, the budget, by the way, is a law. It is called the appropriation bill. You need to monitor the appropriation bill to see how it affects you. Because these changes in taxes also affect your premium and eventually your businesses. So, I believe tonight is not an accident. And many of us tend to think that politics is for politicians. But politics is not just about elections. Politics is not just about who you vote for. Politics is about ensuring that decisions are not made which will harm you. As I close,
no, I don't.
I joined the leadership of Uganda Insurers Association in celebrating the champions who we have already named as the agents, because those are the ones we are celebrating today. And what are we celebrating? We are celebrating the thread which runs through the successful agents. What are the qualities? Many years ago, a man called Albert E.N. Gray wrote a small booklet and he titled it A Common Denominator of Success. And in it, he tried to answer one question. What is the secret of the success of those who succeed? Those who succeed are not as extraordinary as you may think, incidentally. But there's something about them which is found as a common factor. Perhaps, like Mr. Gray, you have been deceived that those you are going to celebrate are successful because they work hard. Not at all. It is not because they work hard. Otherwise, how come so many people work hard but they don't succeed? It is a logical thing. If the answer is simple hard work, are you saying all the hard workers you know are successful? They are not. Just like in school, it is not the kids who read the most who get the A's. Some people seem to succeed without working hard. So, Mr. Gray, and I'm closing, found one thing which I'll share with you. That successful people form the habit of doing the things that unsuccessful people don't like to do. That successful people form the habit of doing the things that unsuccessful people don't like to do. I already told you that no one wants to go with an insurance policy and say, I'd like you to buy insurance from me. the risk is that the person is going to say, get lost, I'm not interested, I'm busy. Now, if in an 8-hour day, all the people you talk to chase you away, you get discouraged. And Mr. Gray is now saying the successful insurance agent is the one who is not discouraged by the rejections. The failures are discouraged by the rejections. And that is why he said the successful people will propose a business deal in spite of their fear of being rejected. I think that is one of the things we will find to be a common denominator among those we shall celebrate today. So, he named that you must form that as a habit. Also remember, I told you about the salt you give the horse to make the horse thirsty in order to drink. Therefore, turning upside down the statement that you can take a horse to the water but you can't force it to drink. You don't need to force the horse to drink. You give it the salt and the horse will be so thirsty it will drink every time. This is what Mr. Gray is telling us. Okay. Mr. Gray then says, what are the things that failures don't like to do? And he answers by saying, the things that failures don't like to do are also the things that successful people don't like to do. No one wants to wake up at 5 when it is quiet. No one likes to ask a prospect who is likely to say no. Both failures and successful people hate it. The list is too many. If I don't want to talk about insurance, then you will also not have the urge to talk to me about insurance. Then why must you talk to me about insurance, yet you know I don't want to talk about insurance? So how do you overcome that barrier? These are the things, and I think they are the secrets that the successful brokers, if we give them time, will come and talk to us about. We don't like change. We want to lead our life. If you come to sell insurance to me and say, I'm 59, I'm okay, I don't need your insurance. So how are you going to make me change my thinking? So, he then says, we must answer the question, why do the successful people do the things that they don't like to do? Then he said, successful people, and I think this is the most important line, and I put it in quotes here. Successful people are influenced by the desire for pleasing results. In other words, the agents we are coming to celebrate here, who we call the champions, even while you are telling them to get out of your office, their mind has a picture of your signature on the policy. They are not listening to you saying, I'm tired of seeing you every day in my office. He has a firm picture of the contract with your signature and the stamp of the company that he works for. He has that. You know, in the village where I grew up, we had village discos. And you'll notice you have these very good-looking young men very smartly dressed, sharp, but they are timid. Then in walks some villager with a shirt which is not ironed. The trouser is even having patches. He's even wearing slippers. And while the smartly dressed young man is still analyzing the possibility of getting a yes from the lady across the room, this man just walks to her and gets her by the hand, says, "Shall we dance?" And to the horror of this smartly dressed man, the lady gets up to dance with this fellow. I think you get the point. So in the mind of this shabbily dressed man, he's already imagining the dance. This one is still analyzing. What will my fellow boys think of me if she says no? For the agents who are here, my message to you through Mr. Gray is that you continue focusing on the results of what you are doing. Now, what about the agents who are not successful? Mr. Gray says, failures are influenced by the desire for pleasing methods. So, in other words, one group, the one we call failures, they focus on the methods, pleasing methods. They don't focus on the results. For instance, if they say, this is the food you should eat if you should be healthy, you say, no, I want something which tastes good in my mouth. But the one who eats the one which don't taste good in the mouth is focused on what it will do as a result. So the failure wants somebody who receives him with a smile. The successful person does not mind whether the prospect is yelling at him, "I don't want to see you again." For him, he's focused on the results. I think those are the things we shall be celebrating tonight. So, you use the word purpose. Your purpose must be so strong that it overrides every other consideration. Now, why do successful people continue being successful? Now, that takes us to physics. It is called momentum. When you build momentum, things become easier and easier and easier. And success will not come because you want a bigger salary, you want this and that, and so on. Success comes when doing the things you don't like doing, like facing rude prospects, becomes habitual. I am hoping that these are the habits that all the agents should develop. I want to promise that I'm going to send a copy of Mr. Gray's article to you so that you share it with everybody. Believe me, it will change the way we look at the world. I found this article in 1990 in a second-hand bookshop in Australia. I was lost and it was cold, so I needed to duck in a shop, and the nearest shop was a second-hand bookshop, and that's where I found that book. The other book I found was by a man called Arnold Bennett. It It was called How to Live on 24 Hours a Day. You'll find that the people we are celebrating here know how to manage time. They know how to budget time. I'm also going to share that book with you, How to Live on 24 Hours a Day. The book put so much pressure on me, and it made me change the way I live my life. And I attribute whatever success I was called to internalizing the messages in these two books. How else can a boy who went to a village school which stopped in P6 end up at Yale University in the United States of America if he did not discover something that put him ahead of people who had better opportunities? So tonight, I am confident, though I do not know those who are going to give their awards to, that there will be some surprises. That you are going to see people who you thought were very shy, and they are going to be celebrated as the best agents. And those of you who know some of these people will say, how can this shy person be one of the best agents? Because they know what transforms you from being a failure to a success through disciplined application. I want to appeal to you, the insurance practitioners, to simplify the language of insurance. On behalf of the lay people, I appeal to you. You know, my father-in-law has been in insurance all his life. But if you ask me whether I understand what he does daily, I visit his office, I do not know. Please do something that the URA is doing. Small question and answer. Let people know what insurance is all about. The government is now discussing health insurance. It's a big opportunity. And we are willing to work with you to ensure that people understand that development demands insurance because uncertainties are there in life. We are not living in the times of Noah. There's no one going to build an ark when the floods come. So people must make individual decisions. Don't use the language which is too high voltage, which electrocutes us. Simplify it. I thank you again for giving me the opportunity to come and speak to you, and congratulations in advance to our winners. God bless you.